So, I feel like I always mention that one certain aspect of a game is so important. Dramatic, I know.
Okay, weirdo.
But the reality is, when you're still laying the foundation of your game, many important aspects and functions are taking place. From gameplay scenarios and art styles to more broad topics like what sort of story you want to tell, as well as the tone you want to set. So with our case, since we already have a story we want to tell, setting the tone to match it will be important. As with anything, there are multiple ways to approach setting the tone of your game, such as character dialogue, art, and so much more. So today, we will be using and focusing on the art to visually set the tone of our game. We'll also be laying the foundations for our first level. These two things really go hand in hand because it's really hard to have one without the other. I'm sure many of you know, but I want to mention that the first level can also function as like a tutorial type of level where the player gets to feel out the game and just set how the base mechanics work and feel. Sort of like when you think of the original Super Mario Brothers and how it does so well with its first level. Even the first panel where you see the Goomba and the blocks and you're like, what is this, you know? And you might die here and there, and it's kind of just helping you figure out how to move forward in a way that's not super hand-holdy, but also it just unveils itself really well. And honestly, at this point, it's become iconic. Striking that balance between the hand-holding of the player and not giving instruction is a really difficult one, but an important one. So while we'll be focusing on art today, I want to keep in mind the importance of that in the back of our minds as a pretty big priority. So when we look at the first level of our game, our first level will be taking place in lava-filled mines in the caves underneath this mountain, which I think lays a great foundation for teaching the player the importance of movement, which is going to be, again, very important for this game. Something I highly recommend people do before they start making a level is draw out kind of a rough idea of what you think. So I've taken the time to draw out kind of a guesstimate of how I want the level to be laid out, just so I have a guide to fall back on when I kind of get stuck. I again really recommend this because it really gives you the best of both worlds in regards to, you know, limits that you should set yourself as well as freedom, since you know you kind of have that baseline. If that makes sense. It's also nice to put some limits in quotations, on the first level because it kind of helps you, get past that first milestone of completing the first level, but it also makes it so that you're not overwhelming the player when they're playing. You're not throwing all this stuff at them. It's just a first clean, short level that gets the point across. And that's what we're looking to do here. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in a previous video, but I will be using a combination of pre-purchased assets from the Unity asset store, as well as assets we've made in-house. The purchased assets will be altered a little bit to make them our own, so you're not just, kind of copy and pasting. But I want to mention that it's important to know when and where to use purchased assets. For example, all the characters in our game will be made by us, but, a random tree or rock might be, something from, the Unity asset store. It's key to be careful with the thing that gets the most spotlight, like a character, because, people are going to be looking at the character all the time, and it might pull them out of, the game if they're like, seeing it and you're like, I can go look at this character on the Unity asset store, so just knowing where to use those assets is pretty important. I've already taken the time to alter some of these assets, but if you would like a video on how I go about that, let me know and I would be happy to do that. But what we're going to start with here, looking at our level, is we're going to actually first choose a color palette to work out of. I've chosen, this palette here, just to kind of represent, the caves as well as the lava, and we'll use variations of this color palette throughout this level, and I'm kind of thinking of 5 layers total for now, but that might change in the future. We'll see. So what we're going to create what's called a parallaxing layer, which will just really bring out the life of the environment. And what parallaxing sort of means is different layers reacting to your moving throughout the game. If you want to learn more about it, I really recommend just looking it up on YouTube and seeing how it works, because me explaining it is not going to do it justice. And so next I'm going to lay the first and foreground layer using some of those altered assets. that looks decent for now. We'll mess with the background layers using those 3 we started with. I'll also add a few things on the player's level as well, just to spice it up and, you know, keep the eye moving forward. Nice. I'm happy with that small window into what our first level is going to look like. I know it doesn't seem like much, but you know, it kind of just sets the precedent for how we want the rest of the level to look like. As I mentioned in the previous video, it's important to recognize that your game is going to continue to evolve and change as your game gets closer to completion, but that is to be expected. You know, your game is going to continue to change as you continue to move forward. So yeah, I'm super happy with the way this looks right now. So next devlog, we'll just continue building out this level. Having this window into what's to be expected will totally help us move forward in that. And you're not going to want to miss it. So please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and check out our other videos. We're super pumped about our Creators Log series where we talk with other creators in the indie dev realm. There's so much good information coming out of it. You're not going to want to miss out on it. But thanks again for being here. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day. We will see you next time.